Hi, I'm Corey Baker, aka Kill Paris, and today I'm going to show you chains in Ableton Live. And what chains are it's essentially grouping at the smallest level in Ableton Live. And what I mean by that is you can group audio effects together to give you multi-band effects. You can also group instruments together and be able to switch seamlessly between multiple sounds. So you can have one keyboard and be able to move through any number of sounds. So if you had a live set to where you're playing, in one song you play a piano sound, and then in the next song you play a synth sound, and so on and so forth, you can actually use one keyboard to play multiple sounds, and you can actually layer sounds too. And this is great for so many different applications. Um, it's it's a pretty big deal, actually. With this, I'm going to demonstrate first audio effects, and then we'll move into instrument racks. And at the end of this tutorial, I'll show you how I use this in my own live set using the slice to MIDI function. So first off, I'm just going to record a small guitar loop, and then we're going to do some multiband effects. So let's go ahead and get recording here. I think I have enough there to work with. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is grab an audio effect rack and just drop it onto our guitar track here. And to see the chains, you want to click on this show hide button right here. And you see we don't have any chains in here, it's just a blank audio effect rack. And to show the chains, just click on this chain button. And also, we want to see our macro controls so that we can map the chain selector to the macro controls. So in order to do that, we're going to go to map mode, click on the chain selector, and click to the first macro. And now it shows up as chain selector. Click out of map mode, and now we're going to drop the amp effect, which is new to Ableton Live 8. And let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, so let's just name this amp. And now I'm going to add an auto filter to the same chain and just cut out some of the highs. There we go. So this will be the low part of our audio effect. So for the next chain, in order to create a chain, we just have to control click and go to create chain. Now when I play it, since we don't have anything on this chain, it'll play clean through this chain and then still play through the amp on this chain. So now we can take this chain, we're going to put an auto filter, and we're actually going to high pass this. Okay, so just to kind of show you how creative you can get with this, let's go ahead and put a beat repeat on here also. And since we have this high pass, this beat repeat is only going to affect this part of the spectrum on the sound. So let's hear what that sounds like. Cool. So let's name this high. We'll do high beat repeat. And we're going to create one more chain, which is again is just control click, create chain, or you can also just grab any of these audio effects and drop them right in here. So for this next chain, we're going to, let's use an auto pan, just to get even more creative. Let's turn this all the way up. Turn the sync rate to, let's do 3/4. Let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, I'm gonna add an auto or a ping pong delay before the auto pan here. And the great thing about doing it this way is that you actually have control, just like with grouping tracks together, you have control over each effect here. So if the beat repeat is too loud, I can just turn that down a little bit. Let's go ahead and rename this delay pan. And I'm going to create one more chain, which again, control click. Actually, here, let's just show you that you can just drop effects in here without having to create a new chain, because it'll automatically create a chain for you. Let's go ahead and use the redux here, which is a bit crushing effect. We can actually, you can, like I just showed you with the volume, you can even pan these sounds any way you would like. So if you would like the redux over here, maybe the beat repeat to the left, and leave the auto pan in the middle. Alright, so I mean, here, let's just listen to the dry sound of the guitar before we had any of these effects, and you can kind of see how drastic of a difference it is. So this makes for some very creative possibilities, and we mapped the chain selector here, and I'm going to kind of show you how to have some fun with that. So what you want to do is you can just grab and stretch these chains out and set the area. And let's move all these. If you want to move any, just click, grab, move. Stretch this one out. And this last one. Okay, so now we can actually mix between each one of these effects for some really interesting results. So let's hear what that sounds like. And you can even adjust the fade into each one of these. See, when I drag this out, I'm actually grabbing kind of on this bottom blue part. But if you go up just a little bit to this kind of grayish part, you can actually change the fade here. So let's fade these two in and out here, and then hear what that sounds like. There. So yes, a lot of very creative possibilities with that, and especially with when you have a very simple sound and you're doing sound design. I mean, this is fantastic, because when you're given just a source of audio, like just this real simple clean guitar that I just recorded directly into my audio interface without any effects until we added them here in the rack, you can just come up with some very creative soundscapes, and like I showed you, mix between all the different effects, so it's really quite amazing. Let's go ahead. I'm in Live 8 Suite here, so I have the electric and the analog and all that all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and grab the electric and put it on this MIDI track here, or you can just drag it here to create its own MIDI track. And if you would like to get an instrument rack just from a MIDI track you already have with an instrument on it, you can control click and you can group right here, or Apple G. So we'll do that, and again, if you don't see your chains, you can just click here, and also here is the macro. And here, this is, instrument racks differ from audio effect racks because you can actually map out different sounds onto different keys, just like we did with the chains. But it gives you a little bit more flexibility, and you can also do it with velocity. And this is great because you can actually make multi-sample drum kits this way, to where on just, if we were to drag this down onto C -2, you could have multiple different sounds here, and when you would touch the key just very lightly, it could trigger this sound, and then your next sound could be right here, which would be a harder hit, obviously, up, 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 until you get to 127, which would be your hardest hit. So lots of flexibility, lots of possibilities with that. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag these chains all the way out. So if you don't see your chains, click on the chain button. Again, we are going to map the chain selector here to our first knob, our first macro, and exit out of map mode. And so okay, so I have that regular keyboard sound. Now, what if I want to have a sub bass on just a certain section of this? We're going to go ahead and grab the operator and drop it in here, or you could control click, create a new chain, and then drop the operator on top of that. So now when I play, it'll be playing the electric and the operator at the same time. So if I go over here to the key range, I can actually change where the operator plays, and since the default setting on the operator is actually just a regular sub bass, which I use all the time for a lot of my dubstep stuff, and I mean pretty much any and all electronic music, you know, you're going to have a sub bass in there somewhere, especially to layer with like fat basses and, you know, more high sounds. So we're actually going to grab this key range here and bring it down to, let's see where we're at here. So I want the bass to hit right there, which you can see where I'm actually hitting the keys at, but I don't want it to hit up here. So this should be the last key that the sub bass actually hits on. So let's go ahead and grab the key range and bring it on down to that note, which is E2. So now when I play this key section down here, it's playing both the electric and the operator. But when I play up here, it's playing just the electric. So if you're a keyboardist and maybe in a part of a song you want a little extra bass, just to be able to play like a bass line on the lower half, you can still have your treble stuff up here. So that's great for sub bass, but let's get a little bit more creative with this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this operator, and we're going to actually grab, let's use the drum rack. And on the chain, these are fine if these are just all on the same, you want them like that. For the key range, let's just use 4. Let's use these 4 notes here. This is going to be where our drums hit. And we're going to move the key range on the electric just past the D sharp, so we'll leave it on E1. So now it's triggering the drum rack down here, and then we have the electric up here. So now I'm going to grab some drum samples real quick. Just go in my sample folder. Let's see. Ooh, Thomas Penton. There, let me open up my drum rack. And we'll just drop a kick. Go ahead and open up the release on this so when I trigger the note it actually plays the entire sample. I will grab, let's go ahead and use a clap, that'll be fine. Or will it? Okay. Actually, I like that one. So we'll drop that right here. Again, the release so that it plays the entire sample. And just for the sake of this, let's just throw a shaker on. Oh, those are loops. Let's throw a hi-hat on there. Yeah, this will be fine. And again with the release, we'll open that up. So now I have drums down there, but I also have my keys here. So you can technically play a drum beat and a key part at the same time. So cool. So that's pretty neat, isn't it? That you can play a drum kit, you can play really any sound that you want, and you can kind of create your own custom keyboard layout because you could have, like you have a drum kit on maybe just this half of the keyboard. On the next half, you have your electric piano, and then on the next half, you could have samples that you want to trigger. You could have like sweeps and effects. You could have every piece of your song. You could even put loops in the drum rack to play. Which actually let's do that because that is really neat. With the drum rack, you can actually add entire songs here in the drum rack and use it like that. So let's go ahead and take a shaker loop. So have that here. Let's go ahead and turn the release up on that. So yeah, I mean the possibility is really endless with that. And like I said, you can put any audio source here in the drum rack and trigger it with your keyboard or with your launch pad or whatever you use. So let's go ahead and delete this drum rack, and now we're going to put multiple keyboard sounds on here, and I'll show you with the chain selector here how to move through those. So we have the electric piano. Let's go ahead and throw an analog on here also, and let's use the tension too. That's always a fun one. So now here in the chains, we're going to drag one of these out all the way. It doesn't really matter which one, all the way to 127, and then you're going to right click or control click, go to distribute ranges equally, which will actually just do exactly what it says. It's going to move all these chains in an even order so that we can actually slide right through them. So as you see, with my chain selector here, which is already MIDI mapped, I can move through these sounds. There's my electric, my analog, and then we have our tension. Cool. So, and like I said, I mean, you can add as many sounds here if you want. If we still wanted a drum kit down here too, we could do that. So the next step to this, if you want to get really, really creative, using the Ableton's looper, we can actually play a part here on the electric sound, loop that, and then from there, with our chain selector, we can go to our next sound and play something over the electric loop that we just made. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you real quick. So we're going to go ahead and grab the looper, put that here at the end. And just for the sake of this, I'm going to MIDI map this stuff here to my launch pad. So the record, the clear, do play, and stop. So I have my metronome turned on, which is right here. Make sure that's yellow. And let's have some fun with this. Oops. My macro controls here are a little messed up. Let's start that again. Oops. Oops. Okay, so that's our first little part. Let's drop the electric. Okay, cool. So, I mean, you saw right there that you can create entire songs just here in one instrument rack, which is great. I mean, this is amazing. I love this part about Ableton. This is one of my favorite things about Ableton. Once I learned how to do this, it completely changed my life setup because instead of having one keyboard dedicated to one sound, you can have multiple sounds on a keyboard, including the drum racks, which I'm going to show you in my live set how I use drum racks and how I use chains here. So let me bring that up real quick and we'll get into that. Okay, so now we're in my current live set, and here are I have two separate instrument racks using the chains here. The first one is it's all cut up samples of bass lines and other stuff that either I've made or pieces that I want to use in my live set. And using the slice to MIDI function, which allows you to take any source of audio and cut it into quarter notes, 16th notes, or also slice it by warp markers, and it automatically puts it into a drum rack and then maps it to the keys on your keyboard. Or in this case, I'm using the Novation Launchpad. Because with the Launchpad it has 64 buttons on it, and when you slice a 16-bar loop into quarter notes, it gives you 64 slices, so it's absolutely perfect for this. So here on this first one, I'll just play. I have some bass stuff. So I've got quite a few different songs here, and different things all sliced up. And on the other instrument rack I have, it's all drums from different songs. So I can go through and play back fully processed drum sections of my songs. And the MIDI information coming from the launch pad as I'm playing is actually going to both of these tracks. So if I turn this one on, so what's cool about this is the way I kind of think about it is, instead of just playing loops back in Ableton Session View, which is great. I mean, it's a great way to play live. But if you want to really get some more control, I think of this as kind of playing, not necessarily loops, but you're playing miniature, ultra small clips of your source audio, which in this case it's all stuff that I've done and recorded, and it's all parts of my songs. It's all been fully processed and then, frozen and flattened so that I can play it back live when it's all sliced up. So you can actually create, the way that I do this is I'm actually creating live mashups of my stuff by combining drums from one song with basses from a different song and vice versa, and going through. So that's one song. And just like we did, the chain selector here is mapped on both of these, so I can actually go through. I have a MIDI map too on my Novation Nocturne here. So you can go through all of this different stuff. So I have pretty much, if I show you the kind of the session view of my live set, the only loops or tracks that I have in here are actually the kind of, some of them are just loops of parts of songs, and other ones are just the entire song. So instead of really doing stuff loop based, you can actually perform all this stuff live, like I showed you with the looper, which I have a couple on here. So really using the chains, using the instrument racks and the audio effect racks is a great way to really get into Ableton like very, very deep, which is kind of where I'm at right now. It's completely changed the way I do my live stuff and how I do my production too, because I mean, with doing remixes and stuff, to do multi-band effects, it's huge, instead of just putting one effect on one sound and being like, oh, okay, that kind of sounds good, so I'm going to freeze that and then duplicate that sound and then put another audio effect. It gets kind of monotonous when you do that. So I hope this helps you out, and thanks for watching. See you later.